I thought today we could touch on the artist's ego and what it can do to your career as an entertainment industry artist. I should mention that this Curio & Co series is intended to give back to the artistic community, to provide tips to artists who are dealing with the many peculiarities of the entertainment industry. By the way, that is my hand drawing. And for those who don't know me, I am C. I've been in the visual industry for over 2 decades, and I'm also a partner at Curio & Co here in Vienna. Our main line of work is to create content and visuals, and we aim, of course, to entertain ourselves as well as our audience and clients with the projects that we undertake. The tips I get to share are things I learned on the job, tips that are not taught in schools, but I wish I had known when I first entered the visual industry. They really would have made my early years of work much easier. My hope is that these tips will help you reach your creative goals faster. After all, this industry is quite fast paced, so let's get started. Usually, the best practice is to leave your ego at the door. But ego has its function in everyday operation. I'm saying operation because you are in an industry, a business, and you need to constantly be selling yourself as an artist. And a bit, and I repeat, a bit of ego can help you along the way. But you need to be able to sprinkle it in the right places and at the right time. I'll cover this a little bit later. We need to be realistic, and you should know that you'll be jumping from job to job, and often the gigs may just last a couple of months, sometimes just weeks. Selling yourself as an artist is a must. You'll need to have the desire to collaborate. If you manage to leave your ego at the door, it will allow your team members to feel comfortable and unthreatened so that they can offer their own point of view. It will be your soup's responsibility to create this environment, to lead the team in the proper direction by picking the best ideas for the project, not the ideas that make you happy. The project comes first. After all, the team is committed to the project, not to make one single team member happy. In the case the decisions are taken to make one person happy, then you just might be stroking someone else's ego. And the project, 9 times out of 10, will suffer because of an obtuse vision. I've seen it happen, and that is specifically the reason why you should leave your ego at the door. We have collaborated on some IP development projects where all team members, as good professionals, left the ego outside. And it was a really great experience. Each person was able to offer their knowledge and POV. We all valued each other's expertise, and as a result, the project got richer and more tuned. The developed material ended up getting praised by every single one who later handled the project. Being an artist is making decisions, troubleshooting, finding solutions to problems, how to fix that line, the color, the composition. We need to be able to identify what doesn't work in an image so that we can fix it. And if you deal with computers for your image making, then you have a really good understanding of what troubleshooting and creative problem solving means. One needs to be willing to solve the problems that are presented if they want to be able to achieve the goal. I'm mentioning this because you, as an industry artist, will need to have the desire to make the projects that you are working on the best that it can be, or even better. And that requires team effort. You'll need to put the project's needs before your own. Everybody on the team should be there with the common goal to make the project better. All united into one endeavor to make the project work. You'll have to break down the project into smaller problems and fix these smaller bits so that every one solution can work as a whole. Your creating problem solving mind will have to understand that to achieve this, it means leaving that ego that screams me at the door. But don't worry, you get to pick up that little guy on the way home after the day's work. And once that you're home, you'll get to work on your own projects. You'll be able to be the master. And there, you'll have all the freedom that you want. As a matter of fact, I encourage you to have a personal project going at all times. It allows you to further your personal interest and push your skills in the direction that you want to go in, and not the direction that the gig needs you to go. That personal project will be able to open doors for you to work on projects that align with your interest. Many hiring parties will be interested to see what you've been working on as you're working on your craft. And because you're working on these personal projects, you'll be able to get on gigs that are more fulfilling on a personal level. As artists, we also need to be self aware of where we stand with our skills and achievements. That will help put our ego in check. It doesn't mean that you should put yourself down for not having reached a specific goal, but you should be honest with yourself so that you know where and how you fit in the team. It's important to be self aware in a collaborative environment. Learn to read the room so that you know when to offer your opinion. If you are in a meeting or at an event, you were invited for a reason. You are supposed to participate. Yet, participating in a conversation is different than dominating a conversation or simply offering a monologue. Have a friend keep an eye on you and give you some cues if you start stepping out of line. Keep a tight leash on that ego. It will help you get to your goals faster. Most often, artists are shy and reclusive. But the entertainment industry is a collaborative place. So you'll need to be social. You'll have to talk about what you do and what you have achieved. You will have to do some boasting about yourself. Some don't go nuts. And again, I would suggest you read the room. Pick up on those cues of when enough is enough. You don't want to turn into the one that no one wants to talk to. You need to let out the ego just enough to give you a tiny boost to your self-confidence, to land a positive impression to the people that surround you. As the years go by and you get better at your craft, you'll no longer need the ego as the self-confidence crutch. Ego can be quite loud in young artists, either as an internal or an external voice. There are those who let it out, and those individuals are most often perceived as annoying ones. Most professionals tend to stay away from those people. And then there are those who keep it bottled up, but occasionally it jumps out and makes a mess of things. Since it jumps out at the most inappropriate times, it's useful to learn to control that egotistical ego. You don't want to be in an open project meeting with your soup and tell the entire team how good of a job you did on that one shot or design. That will not fly. Your days might then be counted on that production. You might not show your ego to others, but think that you're better than that artist and that artist and that one. Only years later to realize that perhaps you were not mature enough of an artist to understand the intent of that work. If you just recently started your creative career, you might not have had this experience. But take it from me, it will happen. It's a humbling experience and it teaches how much there is to learn. This comes from a first-hand experience and many conversations I had with colleagues. But regardless of all this, that ego still had a function. It offered some of the fuel that combined with your passion, it allowed to give that self-confidence a boost so that you could pursue this wacky career in the entertainment industry. I just mentioned self confidence, but don't confuse ego with self confidence. They are quite different and they are perceived by others in very different ways. In my experience, ego tends to be a false self confidence, a way to compensate with the lack of skills or knowledge. It makes you think that you are omniscient and omnipotent, but in reality, none of us is. Try to remember that. On the other hand, if you're an artist, you most likely suffer of imposter syndrome. I've never met an artist who's not afflicted by this. Usually, a bad creative day will get you wondering, why am I trying to be an artist? Those are the days when you should rely on your ego. Sprinkle a little bit in your coffee, give it a good stir, and gobble it up. Start thinking about your achievements and remember the praises you got from your colleagues. How good you did on the piece of art that you finished last month. Your ego will help you fight this ridiculous imposter syndrome. As the years move forward in your artistic career, you'll start noticing that the people who are the best at their work are the most humble ones, the ones who have nothing to prove to others. They left their ego at the door many years ago. Most often, those are the artists who are happy to share what they know because they know how hard it is to gather all the necessary know how to do the work. And believe it or not, they are still hungry to create and to learn. Be on the lookout for those artists and treasure the time you get to spend with them. That time is worth gold. Until now, we talked about personal ego, but you'll also have to deal with other egos in a studio environment. And this can be a challenge if the person who did the hiring didn't do a good job in creating a cohesive team. If this is the case, you'll have to employ some political skills in people management and rely on other team members to get you through the project. Often that will work to create a very strong bond with your team members, and you'll be able to come out on the other side through collaborative moral support. And of course, someone who will refer you for a job when the time comes. I had a particular experience at a studio where the team was quite supportive of one another, but the hiring supervisor was the one with the ego problem. That was a challenge for the whole team. It created a black cloud in the office, and it felt as if the ceiling were 6 feet instead of 8. For those of you who use metric, that is like saying that the room had a 1 meter 80 ceiling. And the people in other departments told me that they could feel the tension by simply walking by. It's always better to leave the ego at the door. The entire team is on the same boat. Try to make sure that everyone's journey is a pleasant one. Projects can last 2 weeks, 5 to 9 months if you're in production, or up to 5 years if you are on the project from the genesis. You might be spending a long time with your colleagues. You'll have to see them every day. Make it a good experience for everyone. This is a small industry and people talk to one another. Help to create a good work environment for everyone. It helps to remember that you are there to support the project. It's not about you. It's about how well the team works together and how you can all make the project better. Of course, you should definitely make yourself visible so that the team knows that you're there. And usually, if you make yourself useful, that will work to your advantage. It will make you shine as an asset to the production. And the next time a gig opens up, they might very well think of you before they think of others. By doing this, you will not have to boast about your abilities because you have proven that you can deliver. That ego of yours just gave you enough of a self-confidence boost to say, I can do that. I can take that on and deliver it. I'll let my last thought be, leave your ego at the door. I do believe it's the one that will serve you best. It may take some doing to get familiar with the practice, but once you are in a group where everyone has the same goal, that experience will be extremely fulfilling. And believe me, you'll want to repeat it. This approach will help you create good team spirit and makes for a better project. I hope that what I shared will be helpful to your creative journey. If you found this video at all helpful, you can support the channel by pushing that pesky thumbs up and the notification bell if you want to know when the next video gets released. In the case you'd like to leave a comment, I'll do my best to get back to you with the relevant info and answer the question. In the meantime, stay curious, keep learning, and of course, stay creative.